the thing that I think I hear from quilters the most is that binding is the least favorite part. So today I'm going to share some tips to make things a little bit easier for you. I'm going to share my tips for how I save money on my binding, how I save time on my binding, and this little trick that I love to use when I'm doing a bunch of quilts at once. Hey guys, I'm Kristen with ISeeStarsQuilting.com. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, I love to share tips and tricks for modern quilters to make things easier on you. Today I'm going to share some really fun tips on binding. Yeah, it's true. Most people have said in the surveys that I have taken over the years as a quilt instructor that binding is their least favorite part. I don't really understand it myself. For me, that's like the final sprint, right, of the quilting process. Like that's the final sprint. You're almost there. You're working hard. It's coming together. It's all happening and you're right there at the finish line. And all you have to do is the binding. But I'm also guilty of letting quilts sit completely quilted in a pile to do binding later on because it's just that step of the tedious, like making of the binding, picking out the binding, all of that stuff, measuring, all of those little bitty things that add up to feel like something that is going to take a while. So I'm going to share with you a tip that I started quite a while back, okay? So I was in a store one day and I found this fabric. There wasn't anything special about it except that it was like less than $2 a yard because it was on clearance, right? There's nothing special about it. It's not terrible. Let me just show you what it looks like. So it's this right here. It's just this like gray with white polka dot fabric, okay? Nothing special about it. Nothing, you know, terrible about it, wonderful about it. It's just gray with white polka dots. Now, there was quite a bit left on the bolt and I'm thinking, for like less than $2 a yard, I could make some backings. That's a lot of fabric. I could do that, you know, and that's a really good deal. I went ahead and I bought it, the whole bolt, everything they had left. I don't remember how much it was because it's been years now. And I've used it on different things. I've used it on quilt backs. I've used it on other things, but you know, I've stumbled across deals like that before. So what we're talking about today is binding. So after I got really sick and tired of seeing that fabric, I went ahead and I said, okay, I'm not gonna do it for backings anymore. It's kind of bland, it's kind of plain. It doesn't excite me anymore. I wanted to do different things with my backing. So this is what I did with it. I took probably at least 4 yards of it that I had left. I'm pretty sure it was almost 5 yards. I cut it into binding strips. Now, I had a process a while back where I did a whole bunch of charity quilts and they were just scrap fabric. I had people donate blocks to bring them to me and I incorporated them, made them into bigger quilts, amazing things. Like there was a ton of quilts that came out of that project and I loved it, right? But all of the quilting and the sewing and the binding, that was on me. And I did that, you know, I was happy to do that. I loved it, but I knew that I was gonna need a ton of binding. So I took this fabric and I cut like 5 yards of it into binding strips. I'm still working through the binding strips, okay? But this is what I made. So I just made this, and this is, I mean, this is like cut down, you guys, this is cut down. I mean, it used to be like so big and bulky that I couldn't even get my hands around it and it was really floppy. But I took it and I cut my binding strips. I like to cut my binding strips at 3 inches. So they're a little bit chunkier binding, but I find it much easier to put on. If you are interested in a video on how I do my bindings, I'm going to put a link across the top so that you can see that. I don't have like any magical advice, but I can show you how I do it and how I've learned over the years to not sweat like when I'm doing it, okay? Let's make it as easy as possible, right? So you can check out that video. I am slowly whittling this down and I just thought, you know, maybe this is something that that I should share with you guys because we're all for like amazing tips in the sewing room, right? I think that it's important that every moment you can when you're trying to like pinch your pennies and make it work, that you do stuff like that. You see those opportunities, right? I had this big giant bolt of gray fabric with white polka dots. Didn't love it per se, but didn't hate it, but knew it was useful and knew it was a good deal. Now, shopping for good deals that you won't use and shopping for good deals that you will use, that is a whole entirely different subject, and I am not equipped to tell you how to spend your money in that manner, okay? I am definitely a sucker for the dollar section at Target, so we're gonna end that conversation there, and I'm just gonna talk about quilt binding. But I pulled out this roll again recently, and I had two quilts that I was binding. I had one that was a quilt for a teacher. I'm gonna show you the finished pictures of that so you can see how beautiful it turned out. I showed pictures of this quilt as I was like designing it on my design board in my quilt trunk show that you'll see a couple episodes back. I'll put a link across the top so you can see that too, because I shared a whole bunch of quilts around my house and just kind of little snippets of like where I place them and how we use the quilts in the house. And I had a lot of questions on this quilt panel, and it's one that has not been produced in a while, but it's absolutely gorgeous. There are a couple sister panels to it, so I will put the link in the description box down below to where you can find that panel. There's still some like on Etsy and some other shops that I have found, but if you're interested in that panel, it's gorgeous. There's a whole bunch of them that just look kind of that same watercolory print, but this is the finished quilt. The borders on it, you can see it's huge. It's a really big quilt, man. It took a lot of quilting, and I love, love, love the way that it came out. I did use my long arm machine to quilt this. It was such a fun project to see it come together. And I wouldn't say panels make quilting easier, but there was a whole lot less piecing involved, and we very quickly got to the end result, which is the quilting part. And once I got that done, oh, I love it so much. You could even call this gray fabric right here a neutral, okay? You could even call it a neutral. So you can see how like lovely it just blends in with the quilt. Now, here's another quilt that I did recently. I actually did a tutorial on this one last week. So you're getting to see the finished quilt now, and I used the same binding on it. So it's a good neutral. Look at that, how it blends in and works for both quilts. So that's just the tip that I have to share with you today. If you find some good fabric on sale and you're not really sure quite what to do with it, look for opportunities like that. If you're doing donation quilts, if you're giving, you know, Christmas presents, you can get Christmas fabric on sale in July, really, really cheap. And then you can go on and make all of your Christmas presents, holiday presents, you know, whatever, what have you. Actually, all the fabrics have holiday sales at some point or another. At least they do at Joann, okay? I know they go on sale. So if you can get the fabric on sale, see if you can use some of it as a neutral, like this, okay? Imagine if it's green with white polka dots. That could be considered a Christmas print, but could totally be used as just a regular fabric too, okay? So look out for those good sales. I hope that you have a wonderful week and that you have something really, really good cooked up that you can be sewing on this week. I personally am going to take a little vacation. My family is in need of one. School ended and we got to get out of here. So we're gonna go up to my parents have a property, and I've talked about it before, but we're gonna go up there and go enjoy some peace and quiet and some family time and some playing together. So I hope that you have some good adventures coming up this summer too. Make sure that you leave me a comment. Tell me where you're going this summer. I would love to get some travel ideas, you know, see what's happening. And I hope that you have a wonderful week. I'll talk to you soon. I'm Kristen with ISeeStarsQuilting.com. Have a good day. Bye.